The grand reception hall of the Concordia Prime buzzed with anticipation. Dignitaries from 40 different species mingled beneath the vast, transparent dome that revealed the tapestry of stars beyond. The flagship of the Galactic Alliance was hosting humanity's formal integration ceremony, marking Earth's ascension from a primitive backwater to a recognized member of interstellar civilization. Cadet Elias Drake stood at perfect attention among the small contingent of human representatives. At 24, he was the youngest of the delegation, but had earned his place through exceptional performance at the United Earth Military Academy. His dark eyes scanned the alien faces surrounding him, some with multiple eyes, others with scaled skin or translucent membranes, all representatives of civilizations thousands of years more advanced than his own. "Remember," whispered Commander Rodriguez at his side, "we are guests here. No matter what happens, maintain composure." Elias gave an imperceptible nod. He understood the stakes. Humanity was on probation, still proving its worth to join the ranks of space-faring civilizations. From across the chamber, General Kavar Nex made his entrance. The Dravari military leader stood nearly 7 feet tall, his amber skin covered in natural armor plates that gleamed under the starlight. For piercing yellow eyes set in a face of harsh angles surveyed the room with undisguised contempt. Behind him followed a retinue of officers, including his aide, Zerna, a slender Dravari female whose calculating gaze missed nothing. "The Butcher of Centauri arrives," Rodriguez murmured. The Dravari were the most vocal opponents to our admission. Elias had studied the general's record extensively. Kavar Nex had earned his reputation through brutal efficiency in the Centauri conflict, where 3 rebellious worlds had been brought back into the Alliance through methods that many considered extreme, even by the standards of interstellar warfare. The reception continued, and gradually the human delegation found itself face to face with General Kavar. The Dravari commander towered over them, his face a mask of disdain. "So these are Earth's finest," Kavar said, his universal translator rendering his guttural language into crisp English. "How disappointing." Commander Rodriguez bowed slightly. "General Kavar, it is an honor to—" "Spare me your pleasantries, human," Kavar interrupted. "Your species hasn't earned the right to address me as an equal." A tense silence fell. Elias maintained his composure despite the insult, standing tall and meeting the general's gaze evenly. "Your kind should have remained in your insignificant solar system," Kavar continued, his voice carrying across the hall. "Humans lack the strength, intelligence, and evolutionary advantages to contribute meaningfully to the Alliance." Several nearby dignitaries shifted uncomfortably, but no one intervened. Elias recognized this as a deliberate provocation, designed to make the humans respond emotionally and thereby confirm the Dravari's low opinion of them. "With respect, General," Elias said calmly, "history suggests that diversity of perspective often proves more valuable than uniformity of capability." "Kavars eis naroet toslits." "You dare speak to me, Cadet? Your species crawled out of the mud while mine was mapping the stars." "Yes, and perhaps that gives us a fresh perspective that might benefit the Alliance," Elias replied, his voice steady. "We may be young, but we're eager to learn and contribute." A dangerous silence fell over the gathering. The general's aides stiffened, recognizing the growing rage in their commander's posture. Kavar stepped closer, looming over Elias. "You mistake your place, human," he growled. "Your species is being admitted out of pity, not merit." Elias maintained his composed expression. "I believe our actions will ultimately speak for themselves, General." The blow came without warning. Kavar's massive hand struck Elias across the face with enough force to shatter the jaw of most beings. The crack echoed through the suddenly silent reception hall. Commander Rodriguez moved to intervene, but stopped when Elias raised a hand slightly. What happened next would be analyzed in military academies across the galaxy for decades to come. Elias had not moved from his position. His head had barely turned from impact. Slowly, deliberately, he returned his gaze to meet the general's. A small trickle of blood at the corner of his mouth, the only evidence of the powerful blow. And then he smiled. 3 seconds. That was all it took. In the first second, Elias identified 5 pressure points on the Dravari anatomy that would disable without causing permanent damage. In the second, he executed a flawless combination of strikes that no human should have been capable of delivering with such speed and precision. By the 3rd second, General Kavar Nex, decorated war hero and field commander, lay on his knees, immobilized by expertly targeted nerve strikes that had bypassed his natural armor. His respiratory system constricted, his primary motor functions temporarily paralyzed. "Please, mercy," the proud general wheezed, his translator struggling to capture the gurgling sounds. Elias stood calmly, not a hair out of place, looking down at the incapacitated alien commander. "I accept your apology, General," he said quietly, then applied a precise touch to the base of Kavar's neck that released the paralysis. The reception hall remained frozen in stunned silence. Commander Rodriguez looked as shocked as the alien dignitaries surrounding them. No one moved to help the general as he slowly struggled to his feet, yellow eyes burning with humiliation and rage. "This is not over, human," Kavar hissed before turning and stalking away, his dignity in tatters. "No," Elias whispered to himself. "I suppose it isn't." The incident report filed that evening described the event as a minor diplomatic misunderstanding. Behind closed doors, however, the Alliance Security Council convened an emergency session to discuss the implications of what had transpired. Elias found himself in an austere debriefing chamber, facing a panel of senior officers for various species. The mood was grave. "Cadet Drake," began Admiral Thorne, the most senior human in the Alliance fleet, "explain your actions." "I defended myself with proportional force after being physically assaulted, sir," Elias replied, standing at attention. "Proportional?" questioned a Medusan counselor, her translucent tendrils undulating with agitation. "You incapacitated a Dravari general in 3 seconds. That capability is unexpected and concerning," added a third counselor, a silicon-based life form whose emotions were impossible to read. "I acted within the bounds of self-defense as recognized by Alliance Charter Article 17, Elias stated. "I chose techniques that would cause no lasting harm." Admiral Thorne leaned forward. "The question, Cadet, is how you were able to do what you did. General Kavar is twice your mass with natural armor plating and enhanced musculature. Even our most experienced combat specialists would struggle against a Dravari warrior." Elias remained silent for a moment, then answered simply, "I was born on Titan Colony, sir." Understanding dawned on the Admiral's face. "I see." For the alien counselors, he elaborated, "Titan Colony on Saturn's moon has triple Earth's gravity. Those born and raised there develop significantly enhanced physical capabilities compared to Earth-standard humans. That explains the strength," the Medusan noted, "but not the technique. Those pressure points you targeted require intimate knowledge of Dravari physiology." "I studied extensively for this mission," Elias replied. "All 40 species' anatomical weaknesses and strengths. I believe such knowledge might prove useful during our integration." A silent exchange of glances passed between the counselors. Finally, Admiral Thorne spoke again. "You are dismissed for now, Cadet. Remain on standby for further questioning." As the door closed behind him, Elias heard one counselor murmur, "Perhaps we have underestimated these humans after all." Meanwhile, in the Dravari delegation's quarters, General Kavar nursed both his injuries and his wounded pride. His aide, Zerna, stood before him with a data tablet. "Report Kavar Grovlet." "I've accessed his records, General," Zerna replied. Elias Drake, age 24, graduate of Titan Colony Military Academy with specializations in xenobiology and close-quarters combat. Titan Colony, Kavars Eisnarowet, nearly killed the general with his bare hands. Human crew members found themselves the subject of curious, sometimes fearful stares from alien counterparts who had previously dismissed them as irrelevant. Elias maintained his routine, determined to represent humanity with dignity despite the whispers that followed him. He was in the training facility, running combat simulations, when the ship-wide alert sounded. Red emergency lights pulsed through the corridors as he rushed to his station. Commander Rodriguez intercepted him en route. "Drake, you're needed on the command deck," she said, her expression grave. "We have a situation." When they arrived, the command center was in controlled chaos. Admiral Thorne stood at the central holographic display, surrounded by senior officers, including, to Elias's surprise, General Kavar. "Cadet Drake reporting as ordered, sir," Elias announced. Admiral Thorne acknowledged him with a nod. "We have a security breach. A Varnic stealth craft somehow penetrated our defenses and deployed infiltrators before we detected it." The holographic display showed a section of the ship highlighted in red, the Biological Research Division. "They've taken hostages," the Admiral continued, "including the Xenobiological Research Team and their security detail." "Varnics?" Elias questioned. "I thought they were extinct after the Hive War." "Nearly," General Kavar interjected, his voice grudgingly respectful. "A few scattered cells remain, extremists mostly. They believe the Alliance betrayed their species during the final treaties." "What do they want?" Commander Rodriguez asked. "They've made only one demand so far," Admiral Thorne replied. "They want the research data on Project Chimera." A hush fell over the command center. Project Chimera was a classified bioweapon countermeasure program designed to neutralize hostile biological agents should any species ever deploy them against Alliance worlds. In the wrong hands, Kavar stated, that research could be weaponized to target specific species genetic markers, including humans. Elias studied the holographic layout of the research section. How many hostages?" 12 researchers and 4 security personnel, Zerna replied, stepping forward with a data tablet. "The Varnics number approximately 15, heavily armed with biotoxin dispersal capabilities." "Negotiations?" Commander Rodriguez inquired. "Attempted and failed," Admiral Thorne said grimly. "They've given us 6 hours to compile the data before they start executing hostages, beginning with the security team." General Kavar studied the tactical display. "Conventional assault is impossible. The research section is sealed behind containment protocols, and they've rigged biotoxin canisters to the environmental systems. If we breach with force, everyone in that section dies, and potentially many more if the toxins spread." Elias stepped closer to the display, examining the ventilation systems. "There's another way in," he said quietly. All eyes turned to him. "The Xenobiology lab has an independent air filtration system," he continued. "It has to, for handling potentially dangerous specimens. That system connects to the main environmental controls through maintenance shafts barely half a meter wide. Too small for any assault team," Kavar dismissed. "Not for one person," Elias countered. "Someone with the right training could navigate those shafts and access the lab from behind the Varnic's position." Admiral Thorne frowned. "Even if that were possible, what could one person do against 15 armed hostiles?" "Create a diversion," Elias replied. "Disable their biotoxin triggers. Give the hostages a fighting chance until a proper breach team can enter." "It's suicide," Commander Rodriguez objected. "It's our best option," Elias insisted. The command staff exchanged glances. Finally, Admiral Thorne nodded slowly. "I won't order anyone to undertake such a mission," he said. "With respect, sir," Elias replied, "you don't have to." "I volunteer." General Kavar's eyes narrowed, studying the human cadet with new interest. "The ventilation systems are in vacuum during non-operation hours. You would need to navigate them in a suit, limiting your mobility and combat effectiveness." "I'm aware, General," Elias said calmly. "I've trained in vacuum combat scenarios on Titan." "If I may, Admiral," Kavar interjected, "I would like to oversee this operation personally. My experience with Varnic's tactics might prove useful." Admiral Thorne raised an eyebrow, but nodded. "Granted. You have 5 hours before we must comply with their demands or attempt a frontal assault. Make them count." In the tactical planning room, Elias reviewed the maintenance shaft schematics while technicians prepared a specially modified environmental suit. General Kavar loomed nearby, watching with calculating eyes. "Why are you doing this, human?" he asked abruptly. You have nothing to prove. Elias looked up from the schematics. Those researchers are developing defenses that could save billions of lives across multiple species, including yours. Their work is too important to lose. Noble sentiments replied skeptically. Or perhaps you simply seek glory. If I wanted glory, General, I wouldn't be crawling through maintenance shafts alone, Elias said with a faint smile. I'd be leading the breach team through the front door. Kavar studied him for a long moment, then gestured to Zerna. Show him the Varnik's tactical analysis. Zerna activated a holographic display showing detailed anatomical scans of the insectoid Varnik species. Their exoskeletons are resistant to standard impact weapons, but their joint membranes are vulnerable, she explained. Additionally, their respiratory systems are located here. She highlighted areas on the neck and thorax, and can be compromised with precise pressure. Similar to Dravari pressure points, Elias observed. Kavar's eyes flashed with brief irritation before he nodded. Similar, yes. Though our species evolved independently, convergent evolution created comparable vulnerabilities. However, he added, Varniks have enhanced sensory capabilities. Their compound eyes provide nearly 270-degree vision, and their antennae can detect minute air movements. Making stealth difficult, Elias concluded. Not impossible, Kavarcharet said. Their senses are overwhelmed by certain electromagnetic frequencies. Your suit has been equipped with an EM pulse generator that may disorient them briefly if needed. Elias nodded, memorizing the details. The next hour was spent in intense preparation, reviewing everything from the hostage positions to the likely patrol patterns of the Varnik's guards. When the time came, Elias stood before the maintenance access hatch in his modified suit, performing final checks on his equipment. To his surprise, General Kavar approached him alone. Cadet Drake, the general said formally, I have misjudged your species. Elias paused in his preparations. One incident doesn't define a species, General. Neither does one mission. Perhaps Kavar achnovledget. But courage transcends species boundaries. He extended his arm in the traditional Dravari warrior's gesture. Fight well. After a moment's hesitation, Elias clasped the general's forearm in the ritual greeting. I intend to. The maintenance shaft was as claustrophobic as expected. Elias navigated the narrow passageway using magnetic grips on his gloves and boots, moving in the practiced rhythm of someone familiar with low-gravity environments. His breath sounded loud in his helmet as he carefully made his way through the pitch-black conduits, guided only by the schematic overlay in his visor. After 40 minutes of painstaking progress, he reached the access point to the Xenobiology Lab's filtration system. From there, things would get more complicated. Once he breached the system, he would have to move quickly before the Varniks detected the intrusion. I'm in position, he whispered into his comm, preparing to breach. Understood, came Admiral Thorne's voice. Breach team is on standby. You have a 10-minute window once you're inside. Copy that. Elias took a deep breath, then carefully disengaged the filtration system's access panel. Beyond lay a small maintenance crawlspace that would lead to the lab's ceiling maintenance area. He slipped through silently, reattaching the panel behind him. The Xenobiology Lab's lighting was dimmed to accommodate the Varniks' light sensitivity. Through the ceiling grates, Elias could see the hostages gathered in the center of the main lab, guarded by 4 Varnik soldiers. Their segmented bodies and compound eyes gave them an otherworldly appearance, enhanced by the biotoxin dispensers integrated into their armor. Elias scanned the room, identifying the Varnik's leader by the elaborate markings on his carapace. He stood over Dr. Hannavel, the lead researcher, forcing her to compile data at a terminal. The remaining Varniks were distributed throughout the research section, maintaining the sealed access points. Moving with extraordinary care, Elias positioned himself above an unoccupied storage room adjacent to the main lab. He waited for the patrol pattern to clear, then silently removed the ceiling grate and dropped into the room. The enhanced gravity of the ship felt almost comfortable after the 0G of the maintenance shafts. He accessed the nearest terminal, using the emergency codes provided by Admiral Thorne to gain system access. First priority, disable the biotoxin dispersal triggers without alerting the Varnics. His fingers flew over the interface, isolating the environmental systems one by one. Just as he finished, the door to the storage room slid open. A Varnix guard stepped in, his compound eyes sweeping the space. Elias didn't hesitate. Before the guard could react, he struck with precision at the joint membrane. Behind the Varnix's head, simultaneously activating the EM pulse generator. The insectoid alien collapsed silently, its nervous system temporarily overloaded. One down, Elias whispered into his comm. Moving to position Alpha. He dragged the unconscious guard into a storage cabinet, then slipped back into the ceiling crawlspace. His next target, the security systems controlling the lab's sealed doors. If he could override them, the breach team could enter without triggering the biotoxin failsafes. Moving through the ceiling space, he positioned himself above the security control node. Two Varnix technicians worked at the consoles below, monitoring the sealed entrances. This would require perfect timing. Elias activated his EM pulse generator on its lowest setting, creating just enough interference to disrupt the monitor feeds momentarily. As expected, one of the technicians moved to investigate the source of the disruption, walking directly beneath Elias's position. He dropped silently, disabling the first technician before the alien could cry out. The second technician turned, reaching for an alarm control, but Elias was faster. A precise strike to the thoracic nerve cluster, and the second Varnix joined its companion in unconsciousness. With both technicians disabled, Elias accessed the security node. He began the complex process of bypassing the biotoxin failsafes, rerouting control to the command center. Just as he completed the final sequence, a harsh voice came from the doorway. "Step away from the console, human." Elias looked up to see 3 Varnix soldiers training weapons on him. Their leader, distinguished by ritual scarring across his carapace, stepped forward. "So the Alliance sends one pathetic human to challenge us?" The leader chittered, his translator rendering the sounds into harsh, mechanical speech. "How insulting. I'm just the advance party," Elias replied calmly, raising his hand slowly. "The main event is about to begin." The Varnix commander laughed, a disturbing, clicking sound. "No one is coming, human. Your communications have been jammed since you entered this section." Elias smiled slightly. "Are you sure about that?" Before the commander could respond, the lights throughout the lab flickered. The security systems Elias had rerouted were now under command center control, and Admiral Thorne was making good use of them. In the moment of confusion, Elias moved. His first strike took out the guard on the left, a precise blow to the joint membrane that severed motor functions. The second guard fired, but Elias was already moving, the projectile grazing his suit as he closed the distance and disabled the second assailant with a combination strike to the thorax and neck junctions. The Varnix commander was more formidable. He abandoned his weapon in favor of natural weapons, razor-sharp forelimbs that slashed at Elias with blinding speed. One caught Elias across the chest, tearing through his suit and drawing blood. Elias adjusted his tactics, recognizing a more experienced opponent. He feinted left, then delivered a powerful strike to the commander's right antenna cluster, exploiting the sensory overload to create an opening for his real attack, a precisely targeted nerve strike that penetrated the commander's armor at its weakest point. The Varnix leader collapsed, paralyzed, but conscious. Elias stood over him, breathing heavily. "The toxin failsafes have been neutralized," he reported into his comm, hoping the signal was getting through. "Security systems are under your control, Admiral." To his relief, Admiral Thorne's voice came through clearly. "Well done, Cadet. Breach team is moving in. Secure the hostages if possible." Elias made his way to the main lab, where the remaining Varnix guards were now in disarray, reacting to the security system failures and loss of communication with their comrades. He entered silently from a secondary access point, assessing the situation. 4 guards remained with the hostages, including Dr. Hannah and her team. The Varnix were agitated, weapons trained on the researchers. One was giving orders to execute the hostages. Elias activated his EM pulse at maximum setting. The burst of electromagnetic energy hit the Varniks like a physical blow, disorienting their compound eyes and sensory antennae. In their moment of vulnerability, Elias struck. The first two guards went down before they could recover. The third managed to fire a wild shot that missed Elias but struck a nearby console, sending sparks flying. The fourth guard, more resistant to the EM pulse, engaged Elias directly. This one was a veteran fighter. His strikes were calculated, testing Elias's defenses. For a moment, they were evenly matched, exchanging blows that neither could land effectively. Then the Varniks made a critical mistake. He overextended on a thrust, leaving his thoracic junction exposed for a fraction of a second. Elias exploited the opening instantly, driving a precise strike into the vulnerable area. The Varnik staggered, his nervous system misfiring from the impact. A second strike to the primary nerve cluster, and the guard collapsed. "Stay down and remain calm," Elias instructed the hostages, moving to check Dr. Vell, who had a superficial wound on her forehead. "Help is coming." "Behind you," Dr. Vell suddenly shouted. Elias turned to see the Varnik's commander he had disabled earlier, somehow mobile again and charging with a biotoxin injector raised high. There was no time to dodge. A blur of amber motion intercepted the Varnik's leader. General Kavar Nex, having entered with the breach team, caught the commander's strike and delivered a devastating counterblow that shattered the insectoid's exoskeleton. "You left this one alive," Kavar said to Elias, his voice a mix of criticism and respect. "A mistake I have now corrected." Elias nodded, breathing heavily from exertion and the pain of his wounds. "I'm surprised to see you leading the breach team personally, General. I was curious to see if your combat skills extended beyond embarrassing Dravari officers," Kavar replied with a hint of humor. "It appears they do." The rest of the breach team secured the remaining Varnik's forces while medical personnel attended to the hostages. Dr. Vell approached Elias and Kavar, her expression grave despite their rescue. "They accessed some of the Chimera data," she reported. "Not everything, but enough to be dangerous in the wrong hands." "What exactly were they after?" Elias asked, allowing a medic to examine the gash across his chest. "Genetic markers," Dr. Vell explained. "Specifically those that could target the precise genetic modifications that make certain populations distinct, like Titan colonists with their enhanced physiology." Elias and Kavar exchanged glances. "This wasn't random," the general concluded. "They specifically targeted information that could be weaponized against enhanced humans." "But why?" Elias wondered. "The Varniks have no historical conflict with humanity. Perhaps they were merely proxies," Kavar suggested, "working for someone else." "We'll get answers from the survivors," Admiral Thorne said, joining them. "In the meantime, I believe congratulations are in order, Cadet Drake. Your actions saved 16 lives today and prevented a potential catastrophic biotoxin release." Elias straightened despite his injury, accepting the Admiral's praise with a respectful nod. "Thank you, sir. But I couldn't have succeeded without General Kavar's tactical insights." Kavar looked momentarily surprised by the acknowledgement before inclining his head slightly. The cadet planned and executed the infiltration with impressive skill. Coming from a Dravari general, it was high praise indeed. 2 days later, the Concordia Prime prepared for the formal ceremony that would officially welcome humanity into the Galactic Alliance. The incident with the Varniks had been contained, though the investigation into their backers continued. Security throughout the ship had been enhanced, and the research data secured with additional protections. Elias stood with the human delegation in the Grand Assembly Hall, his chest still bandaged beneath his formal uniform. The gathered representatives of 40 species watched as the Alliance High Council prepared to ratify Earth's admission. To everyone's surprise, General Kavar next stepped forward to address the assembly. As one of the most vocal opponents of human inclusion, his presence at the podium sent murmurs rippling through the crowd. "Members of the Alliance," Kavar began, his powerful voice silencing the whispers. "I stand before you to acknowledge a grievous error in judgment. The hall fell completely silent. I have long maintained that humanity lacks the necessary qualities to join our collective, he continued. I believe their physical limitations, their brief technological history, and their fractious nature made them unworthy of standing alongside species that have traveled the stars for millennia. He paused, his four eyes scanning the assembly before settling on Elias. I was wrong. The admission from the proud Dravari general sent shock waves through the assembly. No one could recall Kavar next ever admitting error publicly. 3 days ago, I witnessed a human cadet risk his life to save not only his own kind, but representatives of 7 different alliance species. He did so with courage, intelligence, and skill that would honor any warrior of any world. Kavar turned to face the human delegation directly. In our first encounter, Cadet Elias Drake demonstrated that humanity possesses strength I had not anticipated. In our second, he proved they possess something far more valuable, the willingness to sacrifice for others, even those who have shown them contempt. To the astonishment of all present, General Kavar Nex, decorated war hero and proud scion of one of the Alliance's founding species, bowed his head to the human delegation. I formally withdraw all objections to Earth's admission and offer my personal endorsement of humanity's inclusion in our alliance. The assembly erupted in applause and vocalizations of approval from various species. Admiral Thorne stepped forward to shake Kavar's hand in the human tradition, a gesture the general accepted with grace. Later, as the celebrations continued, Elias found himself on one of the observation decks, looking out at the distant blue sphere of Earth. So small from this distance, yet now officially part of something vast beyond human comprehension. Admiring your homeworld, Cadet, came General Kavar's voice as he approached. Not exactly my homeworld, General, Elias replied. I was born on Titan, remember? I've only visited Earth a few times. Ah yes, the gravity-adapted colony. Kavar stood beside him at the viewport. Your enhanced physiology explains much, but not everything. Such as why you didn't kill me when you had the chance, Kavar said bluntly. In our first encounter, you could have caused permanent damage or death with the same techniques you used to merely incapacitate me. Elias turned to face the general. Would killing you have served any purpose beyond vengeance? Many would say it would have served justice, Kavar replied, or established dominance. Those aren't values humanity wants to bring to the Alliance, Elias said quietly. We've learned through our own bloody history that strength without restraint leads only to destruction. Kavar contemplated Earth's distant image. Your species is young, yet you speak with unexpected wisdom. Youth can sometimes provide perspective that age and tradition overlook, Elias suggested. They stood in companionable silence for a moment before Kavar spoke again. You're being promoted, I hear. Lieutenant Drake. Elias nodded, and assigned as a tactical advisor to the Integrated Forces training program. My recommendation, Kavar admitted, few have your unique combination of abilities and perspective. You will teach others, including Dravari officers, much. I'm honored, General. Elias hesitated, then added, May I ask you something personal? Kavar inclined his head in permission. What changed your mind about humanity? Really? It wasn't just the mission against the Varniks. The general considered his answer carefully. When you disabled me in 3 seconds, I was humiliated. But when you then showed mercy, I was confused. In Dravari culture, mercy to an enemy is considered weakness. And now I understand that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to refrain when destruction serves no higher purpose. Kavar turned his gaze back to Earth. Your small world has produced a species with enormous potential. I look forward to seeing what other surprises humans will bring to our alliance. Elias smiled. As do I, General. As do I. As they continued to watch the slowly rotating Earth, Elias reflected on how much had changed in just a few days. A single confrontation, a momentary choice between vengeance and restraint, had altered the course of human integration into galactic society. Strength isn't inherited through genetic lineage, Kavar said suddenly, as if reading Elias's thoughts. It's forged through the choices we make to fight for what is right. Elias nodded. And respect isn't granted by status or tradition. It must be earned through actions worthy of admiration. The general made a sound that might have been a chuckle. Perhaps there is hope for this alliance after all, Lieutenant Drake. There always was, General, Elias replied. Sometimes it just takes a different perspective to see it. Together, the human and the Dravari stood at the edge of a new era, one where ancient prejudices began to fade before the promise of genuine understanding between worlds. Far below, Earth continued its silent rotation, small but significant, its people now official citizens of a much larger community. And aboard the Concordia Prime, unlikely allies contemplated the possibilities that lay ahead in the vast expanse of stars surrounding them.